Wow.
Oscar.
I've got so many people to thank for this award. You don't do a job like this by yourself, Z. It's so many people that helped me in that role.
Got it. Welcome to the Dice, everybody. I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
I'm Mike DiLisio.
All right, today we're doing a top 10 games everyone should play once. Before we jump into that list, I want to say thank you to our sponsors. We have two sponsors. We have Grip Mat, which I need kind of one on the table right now.
I could use a grip mat
because my hands are
now.
sliding across. I'll tell you what a grip mat's great for, though. Picking cards up.
Yeah.
No question. Picking cards up off a table. So much using a grip mat. And they have lots of mats specifically for games. Check them out. And then, of course, Board Game Bliss, who is carrying at least one of the games on my list. Maybe more.
I'm assuming they have most of these.
Yeah,
for
I'm assuming they have
sake.
many, if not most, of mine.
All right. So.
How indie did you go?
Not quite that. We'll get there. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about
must-play games. So we did the similar, if not the same title of this video a number of years back.
Yes.
And just to kind of refresh myself, I kind of looked at what my choices were, what my picks were, and I would have had many of them.
Actually, what are you saying is the same as this?
It was called Games Everyone Should Play Once.
Did we do that one?
I don't know. Don't look at me. You picked the topics.
It was. I think right towards in the beginning to middle of COVID, we were all kind of in separate locations, and did it.
I don't remember this list at all.
So, because of that, I chose to kind of approach this list a little differently. Okay, Z was in it. You were in it.
You were there.
I was in it.
You were there, Anna.
Yeah,
I don't remember this. Do you remember it?
No, but I also did not go back and check.
Yeah.
I purposefully, I figured we've done something kind of like
Right.
it. So
I purposely checked because I just wanted to know. I didn't want to repeat myself. So I approached this list in a completely different way.
You picked 10 different games?
I picked games that no one should ever play. No. What I did was I basically was like, okay, how can I kind of approach this differently? And so what I did is hopefully I'm going to get a little bit of interaction with the two of you.
Oh,
I picked categories of games, right?
Yeah.
Categories of games. And
stupid games.
I'm going to be
boring games.
I'm going to say a sentence to both of you. I'll be Joe or Joanne Gamer out there.
Yes.
And then you'll guess. I'll say, okay, well, maybe you don't like this type of game, but if you're going to play this type of game, play this one.
And we'll try to guess.
And you'll be wrong every time.
This is fun.
Right?
This will be fun.
Audience participation.
We're not the audience.
Okay.
Well, to me you are.
Let me talk about my
Did you see my performance?
My thought.
I did.
Yeah, we all saw that.
Yeah, it was something.
So, first of all, for me, the order here didn't particularly matter that much. It mattered a little bit. I tried to mess it a bit.
I put mine in alphabetical order, I think.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Always got to outdo you, Tom. You know what I mean? Mine's in numerical order.
Let's rewatch the list for 3 years and go punch it in.
Dewey Decimal. Secondly, I know that so the title list is games everyone should play once, and we all know that this is hyperbole. First of all, we don't expect everyone in the world to play these games once.
No.
Here's who my list is for.
Who?
It's for you. And I mean that by the person watching. If you went out of your way to watch this list, then yes, this list is for you. You're looking for games that you should play once.
So you didn't put Monopoly.
I'm not talking to Aunt Edna or Great Aunt Martha.
Can you believe what Aunt Edna said, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
That was way out of bounds.
That was this close to a table flip.
It really was.
She is a wild woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also assuming that a lot of people playing have played a variety of games. So I'm not going to put Monopoly on the list because I'm assuming you've already played it. So I kind of went in with that assumption, too.
Okay.
I don't know if I subscribe to that part. I'm not going to recommend Monopoly because I don't think everybody should play it. But there are games on this list that a lot of people have played because millions of copies have been sold. And I'm not going to try to guess if somebody's played it or not. I put it on the list. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Here's how I tackled this. I did not check the previous list, so I don't know what I did last time.
No one did but Mike.
Yeah.
Nobody did but Mike, who was the only one who knew we did it also, apparently. What I did was I was tackling this as someone who is a sort of a beginning gamer, somebody who's getting into gaming, and they want to figure out what kind of game they like, but I don't mean mechanically, okay? Because you'll figure that out as you just encounter things in gaming. I mean, what kind of emotions do you want? How do you want the game to make you feel? I think a lot of people getting into games don't care about what the game does mechanically. They care about how the game makes them feel. They're not, ooh, you know what I like is worker placement. No, I like a boisterous game.
Okay, I don't think anyone says that, but yes, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Boisterous?
I don't think anyone's like,
You mispronounced like 18 words this morning. I would definitely be careful not saying nobody says boisterous.
No, you cannot. First of all, you're meta recording here.
Okay.
That was a different video.
It's a different you, yeah.
I like
grown
boiling
since
games.
No, but no, I'm just saying I don't think anyone walks around going, I want to play a boisterous game.
You don't think the way the games make people feel is why they engage in gaming?
I'm not saying that. I agree with you. I just said they didn't use the word boisterous.
That's
all.
what this argument is about? My goodness.
I want a game that makes me feel pensive. And go.
Anyway.
That
And-
really wasn't supposed to be a cue.
Yeah.
No, that was.
I loved it.
Now this actually.
Whatever shuts down this argument about the word boisterous.
This opens up a whole new thing. My number 10 is go. Bing. So I mean, this is a whole thing, right? I mean, now all we have to do is just have to avoid saying that word.
Okay, go
Don't
ahead.
say it.
Okay.
Ah! All right.
You don't have to let the whole
Yeah, you don't have to let it
transition
play out. All right.
Go.
You know,
Talk.
I don't really like co-ops. I don't really like playing co-ops very much.
Mm-hmm.
Co-ops. I want, I don't
Is
get
this
the
a
point.
bit?
I don't get
Yes.
the. Yeah, you were trying to
It's
get
the bit.
This is for the
He
gamer that
discussed
doesn't
it.
particularly like co-ops, right? I don't particularly like co-ops. I mean, what's the point? There's really no winner. I mean, what's the point? All right. So, what game would I recommend for people that don't generally usually like co-ops?
And this is a co-op?
It is,
Because
yeah.
I disagree. If you don't like co-ops, then don't play them.
I disagree.
A game that's a cooperative game that people who don't like cooperative games will like.
Might enjoy because it's not
Might
a typical
enjoy.
not a typical.
I'm trying to
co-op
think of the game that starts with an A, because you said you did this in alphabetical order.
No, it's not an A game. My first game starts with a later letter. There's
Well, the
26
answer here
letters,
would be
only 10.
I'm sorry, the answer here is pandemic.
No.
But that's a P.
No, because that is a classic co-op game. What about The Crew? Maybe you don't like traditional co-op games. Maybe you like card games, though, and maybe this gives you a reason
Did you
for
put the
playing.
Crew on your list?
Yes, maybe this gives you a reason for
Okay.
playing cooperatively, right? Because a lot of times people complain about cooperative games. It's because what's the point, right? It's like there's no real winners or losers. Well, in the Crew, you're kind of also trying to the cooperation is for a very specific goal. Right,
Okay.
is to complete these missions.
That's true.
And so,
All cooperative games
yeah,
are that
and
way.
well, I don't know. I can already see this is going to be a huge, huge disaster for me, and I got 9 more to go. Anyway, you may like card games. This is like
You're
not.
going to start calling out your word choices pretty soon.
You know what?
No,
I'm going
you
back.
cannot use that on me here.
I'm
calling
going
them out
back.
on
I'm
Crew.
going back to my things from 10 years ago. Anyway, no, I just thought that this might be a game that, if you don't particularly like cooperative games, this is not a typical cooperative game. This
Sure.
feels like a different type of game. So that's the way I approach this list. It's like, hey, I don't like this type of game. Well, maybe you should try this one because it's kind of different, and you may actually like this one, even if you don't like. Well, because I know this for a fact. There have been people that don't like cooperative games. I've taught this too, and they're like, you know what? I like this one because it feels like there's a purpose behind what we're doing as a team, right? I think a lot of times people are like, it's like, okay, yeah, pandemic, we're saving the world. Okay, I get it. But like, I want to feel like I was really doing something towards that. And a lot of times people don't feel. They feel like there's an alpha gamer. They feel like, you know what I'm saying? This breaks up some of those traditional cooperative
This is
Okay.
actually
types of
odd
elements.
because I went to see what number on my list this was.
Yeah.
And it's not on my list.
Ah.
And it definitely was on my list. So I must have.
Like The Crew?
It must have cut off. Well,
Oh.
my reasoning was
Because you said, oh, you picked The Crew? I thought you would not have
no,
recommended
because
it.
of his flash in the pan comments. In the
Oh,
past.
I know.
I see.
Well, look,
By
that was-
Mike
He'll never
Bickford.
live
that was a
down.
bit.
No, but I would put this on the list for that reason, and it's trick taking.
Right,
You are
exactly.
killing 2 birds with one
You
stone.
are. So yeah, my number 10. Again, this list's going to be weird for me, but just roll with me or don't. The Crew.
All right, and my number 10 is for somebody who wants to play a game where they get to be artsy, where they get to sort of feel inspired, be artsy-fartsy, be nebulous, have a fun kind of... You can sip a little tea or coffee and play this card game.
Wine?
No? I don't know what you're thinking.
You can't sip wine? No, I'm saying, can you sip wine?
Yeah, you can
Tea,
sip whatever
coffee,
you want
wine?
to. I don't care, yeah. It's
Okay.
Dixit. I don't know what you're thinking.
Yeah, that was my guess, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I
you
thought
just
you were
said
like
tea and
leaning towards
coffee.
like a...
I'm like, look, can I have a glass of
trying to-
wine
You can do
while
whatever
I
you
play
want,
Dixit?
Mike. I'm so confused.
I'm trying to think of a drink you can't sip.
You can't sip...
Mr. Clean.
Okay, that's good.
Great.
That would actually help you playing Dixit.
What is wrong with you today?
How would that help you?
Because those pictures would make sense after you had a little bit of Mr.
gosh.
Clean, right?
Oh, my goodness me.
Don't drink Mr. Clean,
Look
kids.
how those are all upside down.
I know.
My-
Oh, Andrew coming with the, yeah.
I couldn't just
Anyway,
turn the whole stack up.
I like the
Finally did it.
feelings that Dixit
Yeah.
is able to get across. I think a lot of people who play games would feel or experience something here that they'd never have in other games before.
I agree.
You know, whether you're a gamer or not, honestly, whether you've already played a bunch of games or not, Dixit is sort of woo-woo a little bit. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, you can kind of be a little esoteric. You can be as nebulous or as concrete as you want to. You can discover where the game makes sense. And I think that as an experience is worth trying. You might hate Dixit, but you should try it at least once because it's going to give you something many, many games certainly didn't do it before this game, and many that have tried to mimic it can't approach.
Right.
So for me, number 10, Dixit.
That's a good call. Also, that was a 45-minute long video clip that was in there. It just kept going.
Really did.
Yeah.
All right, my number 10 is not a bit, and Mike did not know about it
Okay.
when we started doing this nonsense. My number 10 is the game that is called Go.
I love it. That's fantastic.
Just want to be super clear on this one.
Interesting.
You think everyone should play Go once? Wow.
Again, I'm talking to the viewers here.
Right.
But I think everybody should try Go at least once because it's one of those games I think that people have not tried. I do not think that you need to play it over and over again
Sure.
or get involved in it. I played it 3 times. I'm done for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But I think the way Go makes you think, and it shows you how just a couple rules and can open up the doors to tremendous strategies. If we ever do a top 10 games that designers should play, I would also put this on that list too.
Okay.
Because it shows you, it starts from the small. Here, I mean, it's a big board actually, but the small number of rules as you're trying to cut off and block other people, the way that the game can be where you can, what's the word for when you make it easier for one person than the other?
Handicap?
Handicap, right. Handicap it so
Yeah.
one player, it's pretty easy. You just have more pieces than the other person. And a computer has not yet solved it,
I
which
know,
is
it's
pretty
amazing.
impressive.
It's amazing.
It's a game that makes my brain melt
Yeah.
because of the immense amount of choices that you have. I just think it's a good one for everybody to have jump in and try at least once.
Yeah, I could jump on board with this. That's
So there's a
good
lot
call.
of abstract games out there, checkers, chess, and all that stuff. And I figured almost everyone's played chess, right?
Yeah, I
that's
think
just one of
that's-
those games. Chess would have, but I thought, man, Go is a kind of game I think people don't normally play.
Yeah.
And you should try it at least once.
I think a lot of people are intimidated by it, and that's probably why they don't try it.
For good reason.
Yeah.
This is a game you respect it. You might not like it, but you tip your cap to it when it
Yeah.
walks down the
Like
street.
your homeroom teacher. You may not like them, but you got to respect them.
What?
I don't know.
It's my number 10.
That's true. All right, my number 9. You know, I don't really like dexterity games because they make me kind of, I feel pressure and shaky and you know, my hands are kind of big and I can't really do a lot of like dexterity type things.
Right.
What do you think would be a good choice? Try this one.
I swear if this
Viking
is Viking Seesaw.
No. No, I tried to be serious with my
Jenga.
premise. That's a good call. I almost went, but crokinole. Because
Wow, this was also on my short list.
really, yeah,
Mike
because
is my short list
maybe
today.
you don't like
All
dexterity
right,
games.
I'm going to get
but,
the crap here for the way I did this then. If
but look,
Mike
like
is shortlisting. Uh-huh.
You've got this beautiful lacquered wooden board, right?
Uh-huh.
This is the kind of game that even if you don't typically like dexterity style games, I think most people that see a crokinole board almost are like magnetically attracted to at least check it out. And for a dexterity game, it's you don't have to have big hands or small hands. It doesn't really matter. You're flicking you're really just flicking discs, right? And so I think this is a dexterity game for people that don't even necessarily normally like dexterity games, because a lot of people that tend to complain about dexterity games is because this thing is like, look, my hands are, I get like all too nervous. And this is a more relaxing kind of a dexterity game with beautiful wooden pieces. And it's kind of like this, almost like an heirloom type of a thing that you're interacting with. And so I think this is a good one for people that typically are put off by dexterity games.
See, but so my reasoning was actually very different than that.
Okay.
Mine is I think you should know how to play it. I think this is one of those games that everyone sees and they go, I don't know. You should learn to play Go. You know, you should know what the rules are.
Sure.
And it kind of gives you an idea of how dexterity games work.
But
Are you saying you should learn how to play crokinole so that you know how to play crokinole? Is that what you're saying?
I think so.
So that, like, when you come across it, you know how to play. I guess I don't understand the logic behind that.
Well, I mean, I think it's important to know big historical games. I mean, crokinole is one of these. I think that's an important one to know.
Yeah, I guess the idea being that, you know, a lot of times when people interact with a crokinole board, they are just literally flicking a disc and bouncing it. Yeah, but the rules, thankfully, to crokinole are very simple. So, you know, I think, and the other thing is that to me, this is not going to be for everybody, but for me growing up, we had a very similar thing at our schools. In elementary school, we had what were called carom boards.
Yes.
That were very much like this, right?
Carom is the crokinole for poor people.
For kids,
board.
and in kind of like, the schools that I was going to, which weren't the swanky ones. They have little sticks, and you'd like maybe knocking them into look like little pool corners, or it'd be something like this. And so to me, this is like the grown-up version of carom boards growing up. So
Got it.
there you go. There's my number 9, crokinole.
Nice. All right, my number 9 is in here somewhere. Yes. Okay. If you want to play a game and you enjoy, or you want to try something that's going to give you that feeling of mistrust, that feeling of that tension of, I don't know who I can trust around the board, I think you should try Deception Murder in Hong Kong. I think it's a game.
Interesting.
There are many games of this category. Again, I'm not tackling this from a categorical sort of point of view. I'm tackling it from I've never experienced this in games that make me feel X, Y, or Z. I want to try and see if I like that in games. Maybe I'll hate that in games.
Right.
This one is a good example of that thing that's going to allow you to either mistrust other people and have to deal with sussing out a liar, or be the liar yourself and see if you like that feeling in a game without being too demanding on you, throwing you in the deep end when you are the liar. You can sort of just ease into that and see. Maybe you'll love then social deduction games, or games that give you that feeling of, I don't know who's on my team, that sort of thing, you know. In this one, someone is a murderer, and everybody else, I guess, has to figure out who that is with some abstracted clues coming from one person that knows the answer. So a bit nebulous, but that helps the game succeed, and it's one that's going to have a lot of aha moments, a lot of fun accusations thrown around the table. So for me, Deception Murder in Hong Kong, I think, is a game everybody should try at least once, a game of this type, and this is a really, really good one. That's my number 9.
All right, my number 9 isn't a... This was I went through like hundreds of games and was like, no.
Yeah.
It was a tough one. So this was one that was once very, very popular. It's not nearly talked about as much now, but I think it's the kind of game you should play because it just teaches a bunch of mechanisms that that are in a simple way that you might not have run across. And this is Small World. So Small World is kind of a different kind of game. It does a lot of things. It's a bridge, frankly, between the old area control games of the past, war games of the past, and modern games. And there was a game that Vinci came out before this. That this is essentially the same game, but they streamlined it. But the idea of Small World, of taking two different special powers and merging them together, of having a civilization rise and fall. There's a lot of ideas in this game that are spread throughout gaming, and I thought that just brings them together in a good way.
Special powers.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about this a lot because we at the Dice Tower, we're always telling each other constantly, you need to play this game. I laugh about it all the time. So
Right.
You need to play this game. We say it all the time, you need to play this game. You really can't play every game.
You can't.
So,
Yeah.
but I was thinking if I was like giving someone a primer on some games they need to play and catch up, Small World would be one. I think Small World is one a lot of people have not played that have gotten into gaming in the last 5 years or so.
Sure.
Yes,
And I
that's
think
true.
it's a historically good game that still holds up today very well and is worth checking out. So that is my number 9.
So my number 8 is for the.
Stop.
Yeah.
Can't stop.
Oh man, maybe I could have done that. Anyway, no, because if you don't like push your luck games, and Can't Stop is like as pure as you can get. Yeah, you probably wouldn't like it. But this is for the gamer who doesn't. I don't like social deduction games because I don't really like to lie. I'm a terrible liar. It's a crossover with Z. It's Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. Great choice, Z. Yeah.
Now, I want to ask both of you, since you put it here, did you guys put this on because it's your personal favorite? Because it's clearly not the most popular.
No.
No, I think it's the most forgiving. Is why I kind of picked it.
For me, it's for there are people that don't like social deduction at all that do like this, because a lot of times people are nervous playing social deduction games because they don't want to be called out. They don't want to be put on the spot. They don't like lying. They don't think they're good at lying. This is a way that you can play the game and actually win the game, and you're not under the spotlight, right? Think about something like Spyfall, right? Or a fake artist goes to, like, you're in the spotlight at that point. Everyone's looking at you, right? That doesn't tend to happen in Deception, Murder. Everyone's accusing everyone of everything, right? It's like, well, you got a hammer. Well, but you've got an iron, It's like, so no one is put on the spot. You know what I mean? Everyone is kind of accusing each other.
that, but I think fake artist is the same category. But I
kind of. But yeah, exactly.
When you are drawing, everyone is looking at you
yes,
drawing.
That's true.
I think is
you're
what he's
you're
saying.
in the spotlight there.
Or if you're making up a
Right.
sentence or you're presenting something, then it's your turn to lie.
Yes,
Go
yes.
lie. We're all looking at you and listening to
Right.
you.
This doesn't work that way. So
Yeah.
I think that it is the one social deduction game I've played that I think will work with people that don't like being in the spotlight and don't feel comfortable or confident lying or bluffing.
Sure.
Because the people that don't like bluffing end up calling it lying a lot. Have you noticed that?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't like a bluffing game says, I don't like to lie.
I don't like to lie.
They never say, I don't like to bluff.
Right.
And anyone who loves it never says lie.
Yeah, you say
They're like,
bluffing.
I was just bluffing.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just a psychological thing. So number 8, what Z said, I like it a lot.
All right, my number 8 is a big, adventurous, freeing game, and this is a game I recommend you try if you want something akin to an open-world video game in a tabletop format. This is Sleeping Gods. Is my recommendation for this one.
Ooh.
If you want to
What
try,
a bold choice.
Yes.
is it? I mean, it's. There's not that many other games I can think of like this. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
it's a big ask is what I'm saying comparatively.
it is a big ask, and it's certainly to complete an entire session of this will be
That's the thing.
15 hours or whatever. But I think you'll know soon if you like this kind of game. When I open up a map, there's a little ship where our crew is on, and I ask you, okay, where do you want to go? You're like, I don't know. Where are we supposed to go? I don't know. Wherever you want to go. You want to sail that way? You want to sail this way? It's up to you. You want to go to? There's a little picture of a town there. You want to go in there? You want to talk to those people?
Yep.
I do.
Let's go see what happens.
Right.
Let's do it.
That if you like that,
Yeah.
or if you think you might like that, then this is one to try, and it'll
Right.
lead you down the rabbit hole of maybe not other games that do this, because I really do think this is fairly unique. But it'll show you that you like adventure games, adventurous games, games that let you be free, that don't necessarily hold your hand. You might like campaign games if you end up enjoying this.
Off rails.
Oh yeah, the sort of guardrails are the what is that called? Guardrails are down. Yeah. This is a very epic game as well, and it's one that I think everybody should try and see if they like that feeling in a board game. So my number 8, Sleeping Gods.
All right, my number 8 is the only, I'm double checking to make sure, Reiner Knizia game.
Oh my goodness. How many do you have on your list? Is it from here on out, or?
It'll spoil it if I say.
Figures from here on out. 7.
Should I ruin my list by giving you
How
an
would that
answer?
ruin your list?
I have 0 Reiner Knizia games on my list.
Why would you ruin it like that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, anyway, this is actually one different than you might think, because one that I considered for a while was Through the Desert, but then I already had Go on the list.
Yeah, that's true.
But this is a game that, again, was incredibly popular when it came out and has very much cooled off. It's not mentioned a lot because now we live in the land of duel games. But this was the original duel game. This is Lost Cities.
What a great game.
Lost Cities is a 2-player game. And again, I'm kind of talking to people who I think a lot have not played this game.
Yeah.
And it shows the classic nature of Reiner Knizia card games. But if you want a 2-player game where you feel pretty tense about what your opponent's doing, this is a game in which you are not just playing what you have best. Mm-hmm. You're trying to keep good cards in your hand from your opponent.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or you even will discard a card you desperately need, hoping your opponent doesn't immediately pick it up.
Right.
And then that you can pick it up later and use it
Right.
later on. Some very interesting ideas. I love Lost Cities. It's of all the games on my list, this is, like I said, I played Go 3 times and I was done.
Yeah.
Lost Cities I played over and over again, and I think it just shows again how clean game design can be.
Uh-huh.
And nowadays, I think as a whole, game design is leaving the clean systems. I really do.
Sure.
I think that games are getting more and more complex as a baseline. Right. Yes, we still have easy, simple games out there. I'm not saying they don't exist. There's lots of them. But as a whole, and it's sometimes the more game systems, the more we applaud games.
Yeah.
And I'm here to say that sometimes just one thing, it makes it Lost Cities. The fact that there's 5 different discard piles is what makes this game. That you discard into that color, and then when you draw, you can draw the top card or the top card of a discard pile. And I just like it. I think it's very interesting. So Lost Cities is my number 8.
That's
Good call.
good one.
It's a good call.
Well, the world's depressed. Mike's list has been spoiled. We know what his top 7 are now.
Correct.
Now that they're not Knizia.
Yeah, right.
Also, maybe
How many Kramers
I
are on your list?
lied. No. So my number 7, I'm not even sure if my internal logic is correct here, but I don't care.
Since when has that stopped you before?
Never.
Fair.
Never. So one of the more kind of pervasive things in the board gaming hobby over the last, 10, 12 years is that deck building is part of many, many games, right? It's like, you're going to use deck building here with this area control game. You're going to use deck building here with this game, and you're going to have worker placement and deck building. And so I've heard a lot of people say, I don't like deck building. And I wonder if it's because they don't like
I want to
the
know what
implementation.
this is 'cause I'm interested.
They don't like the implementation of deck building in a larger system. And I don't know if they're getting what deck building really is under those situations. So what do you think is the purest deck building
Dominion?
out there?
We're going to go back to Dominion.
Yeah, number 7 is Dominion, because I feel like a lot of people have played maybe 30 different deck building games and have never played a pure deck building game.
Also on my short list.
Right? Because I
Interesting.
would the reason why I went with this is that it wouldn't be a valid pick in under my kind of limitations here if it wasn't so prevalent in other games, right? Like I said, I really think you could play 20, 30 games where deck building is a big element of the game, but I've never played a pure deck building game where all you're doing is deck building.
You think so? It
I
seems
do.
like there's so many of those.
So there's Dominion
Yeah, I
was
don't-
first, and
right.
I mean there was a bunch that were
There
pure
was
deck building
a-
initially.
yeah, like Ascension and
Thunderstone,
stuff, and-
Ascension,
right.
And then Star Realm started to veer off a little bit, and then I think Clank was the one that kind of changed a lot of it.
Yeah,
at
I
least for
think
many people.
there are so many games. It seems like a
Tyrants
lot
of
of
the Underdark was earlier than that.
but that also had area control.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you
Stuff.
said
Right.
you'd rather be a part of a game than be the whole game.
And I agree with Zee
I
on that.
would.
Yeah,
I would.
I do.
But
I
deck
think
building.
it sounds like, deck building got taken and then thrown into all of these other things. I disagree. I feel like now we're finally starting to use it as just one more mechanism, as opposed to, I got the license for Resident Evil. What do I do? Deck building.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
It's like the poor man's answer to everything.
Yeah, I maybe. I don't know. I do feel like there are a lot of people that have played elements of deck building that have not played a pure deck building game.
And you might be right. I don't know.
To be honest with you, it showed me that I don't particularly like pure deck building. It was the opposite effect for me. I like it incorporated, but I don't particularly like just deck building. But I think that this is a good way of finding out. Right? You play Dominion, you know whether you like deck building or not.
I suppose you'll like the mechanism.
Yes.
I guess I have a hard time. It is possible to play a worker placement game for the first time ever and dislike that game and not necessarily dislike worker placement.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't dislike Dominion, do you?
No, I don't. I think Dominion's kind of dry, though, and kind of a boring theme and a little bit mechanical and feels a little dated and it looks bad.
I agree with everything except for the feels dated. I agree it looks bad, is a boring theme, and it's mechanical.
Yeah.
That's just what I like. I sometimes want to play a mechanical game.
Yeah, and that's fine. I'm just saying I think it's possible for somebody to play this and not like this game and not really necessarily discover if it was the deck building or Dominion. That's true of any of our choices, obviously, but if you were going for if you like theme, you might still not get that here and be like, ugh, everything's like +1 something or other,
Maybe.
So I don't know. But hey, obviously it's a classic. It falls, for me, in my head, I'm thinking of it more in line with what Tom is saying. You should play Go. Why? Because it's a classic.
Yeah.
Because you should have a knowledge of that.
Right. Well, this is one of those games that we've talked about in other lists where it's ceased to become just, it's a game that is now a mechanism, right? We've had, Dixit was another example of that.
Yeah.
It's a Dixit type game. It's a Dominion type game, that kind of a thing. So.
Yeah. All righty. My number 7 is for somebody who wants to try a time pressure game, a game that makes you nervous, a game that puts you under the clock.
I hate those games.
I tend to not enjoy those games, but I think you should try Escape, The Curse of the Temple, and see if you like them.
Escape.
Yeah.
It's a pretty clean style game. It's going to be 10 minutes long. It is a real-time game. The whole time you are quickly rolling dice trying to get into a temple made up of these tiles, get some treasure, and run back out. And as you roll these dice, sometimes they become locked, as you see on the screen there. If you lock enough of them, you'll need somebody else to come run to you in the temple and unlock, help you. Unlock your dice so you can run. Halfway through the game, a gong sounds. You have to run to this place where you're safe, and then when the sound effect says, okay, you're clear now, you can run back out. If you don't make it back, you're locked out. And at the end, if you don't get out, you're locked out. That's it. It's like sort of like, Nerve Bundle, the board game. If you like that, or if you think you might like that, I recommend you try this one. It's not going to take you very long, for one thing. You know?
If you know somebody with jitters or who gets stressed easily, though, please don't hurt them by making them play this game.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's funny because you mentioned this idea of other people have to come get you, and you're really taking with that in Subterra, too. I wonder if that's just a particular thing you like, that idea
He wants people to rescue him.
People having to come and basically...
I think it's a very straightforward representation of cooperation.
That's true. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, hey, I need you to come help me. Oh, we need to meet together, and I'll pass you a card. You know what I mean? Like, I understand how cooperation works with two people coming together, switching something, and then walking apart. I'm like, they cooperated.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I don't know. No, so my number 7, Escape, The Curse of the Temple.
All right. My number 7, I'm taking a page out of Mike's book here. This is a category rather than a game.
Okay.
Whoa.
Although I picked a game to put in the spotlight here. But the category here is legacy games. I think everyone should try a legacy game once.
Which one did you pick?
Well, I picked the most famous.
Okay.
That's Pandemic Legacy.
Okay.
The Pandemic, I mean, that's the one I think that, because Risk Legacy existed, I think, for 5 years before Pandemic
Sure.
Legacy and didn't change the world per se, while Pandemic Legacy really did.
Yeah.
It's an interesting experience, and I think you should try it to see if this is something you would like. Some people are appalled at even the thought of a legacy game.
Yes.
Other
Right.
people get it's hard for them to fathom, and I think doing it once really will help you out. I mean, maybe it will solidify you don't like them.
Right,
Maybe
right.
you'll figure out that you do like them. But I think it's a good thing to try. I think sometimes people have irrational dislikes of things just based on how it sounds.
Yeah.
And sometimes that works, like, oh, that looks disgusting, I'll never eat it. You eat it, you're like, well, it's actually better than I thought it would be. We've all done that, right?
Sure.
And I think legacy games, a lot of people are like, I don't want a game I can't play forever. So your answer to that is then not playing it ever.
Yeah.
I'm asking you to play it once or twice. That's how we are with every game. And if I want you to play any game, I'll say, try it once. So why are you opposed to trying a legacy game? Try it. Again, if you don't like it after we're done and after the final game and you say, man, I wish I could play more, that's reasonable, but at least you left with that wonderful experience, I think.
Yeah, it's very interesting because it can be, for some people, it can be a very liberating experience, right? Because we as gamers, and I'll speak for myself, can be very precious about our games. That's why sleeves exist. That's why, a lot of things like, like, I'm crazy about don't be bringing food around my games. I don't love that. But in this game, you're like required to tear things up, write on things.
But it's also not a rip a minute type situation.
No, it's not.
I think people sometimes come in that way. You're ripping up the whole deck.
Yeah.
You destroy a few things.
Yeah.
Really over the
Right.
course of it.
You're modifying things. You don't.
Right.
You don't have to rip up the cards
No.
if it makes you uncomfortable.
You have
to
to
like. But yes, you're right about the being precious thing.
Yeah,
You'll have
yeah.
to write and modify permanently with
Right.
stickers and whatnot the playing surface.
And who knows if that would make any impact on you or not? But it's worth trying. I think everyone should try it once.
And I'm
I
seeing
agree.
everyone saying I'm seeing some of the same comments in the chat, and I just don't get it. The people are like, I'm not throwing any part of my game away. I throw the wrapper to the candy bar away. Right? You can't eat that. The popsicle stick, you don't keep that when you're done with the popsicle. It's not that big of a deal. If you look at the game as slightly disposable, and it's still cheaper than the cost of going out to eat once, and you're getting 17, 20 hours for 3 to 4 people out of
Yeah.
it. That's an insane deal. But I still think you should try it. Play someone else's copy if it bothers
There
you.
you go.
Yeah,
Play
yeah,
Joey's
yeah.
copy.
Yeah, Joey has a print and play one. All right, so that's my number 7, Pandemic Legacy.
All right. My number. What,
Beef and cheddar, huh?
You want me to tell? It wasn't Bruce that did it. I was playing a game with Bruce. It was a brand new game that I brought back from Essen. I was teaching at a game day, and about 10 minutes into the teach, homeboy walks away from the table, comes back with an Arby's beef and cheddar, and starts
No way.
1,000%.
Wow.
Okay, so let me.
I wanted to, like, find a Benadryl. I was getting hives.
What? I'm trying to think. Wouldn't you have just said, "Hey, I don't want to get grease in my game. We'll just wait till you're done eating that before we continue"?
I didn't know the person. I was at somebody else's game day that I came to. I just didn't feel comfortable.
It's
Did
uncomfortable.
grease get on the game?
I'm going to assume that grease got on the game. The gentleman was eating it with his hands, used those hands to pick up the cards.
Yeah.
We got the meats. Anyway, my game was very difficult not to throw right in the trash. My number 6 is for the people that tend to say that they don't like area control. I don't like the idea of, this direct confrontation. We're always like just beating on each other all the time. Those kind of games tend to put me off. So this is a game I think that does area control in such a way that might be a little bit less off-putting to the people that don't like direct confrontation, that don't like just beating people up for beating up people's sake. It's really an aspect of a simple card game where the cards you play are going to determine where you go on an area in a map.
Whoa.
Nope, I got nothing.
So
I
maybe
don't
you
know.
like Ticket to Ride, the kind of the rummy style thing. You're collecting cards, you're playing the cards out, and here when you play the cards out, you're putting them on a map. It's Ethnos.
You think
Okay.
Ethnos is not in your face?
I think it's less in your face than most area control games.
Okay. I mean,
you don't have to
Did
agree.
you see
I
the
do.
cover?
No, again, that's a lot of people, we're kind of not a huge fan of the look of that one. So I don't know. For me, this feels like a much less directly confrontational area control game, and because it's wrapped in such a very like. The card system is just so smooth, and it's just, you know what I mean? It's like the focus to me is more like, because I don't love a lot of area control games. When I'm playing Ethnos, I'm more focused on the cards, right? Of course, the way you get points is by going to the areas.
Yeah, but you're taking the card I want. I'm getting annoyed about that.
But I'm
too.
also putting a bunch of cards back out there.
Those are garbage.
No, those are great cards, Tom. Yeah, I know this one may have been a bit of a stretch, but I don't know. To me,
No, I think it's fine to have on the list. I'm just arguing over it's
to
not
me,
confrontational.
I do think that there are some people that don't. Well, I'm one of them. I don't. Well, no, that's not true. I do like a lot of air control. For people that don't. Oh, sorry, that was a thing from the video. I do think that maybe people that don't typically like area control might actually like this one, so they should try it once.
Okay. I think this is good for the list.
All right, that's my number 6.
Alrighty, my number 6 and my number 5 coming up. I had a hard time picking a game for the thing I wanted to represent, but here's what I went with. My number 6 is for somebody who wants to try a soothing game, a calming game, a cozy game, and their list is pretty long right now.
And then we held hands.
It's like that
Talk
one's
about-
like
That one's terrifying. Yeah,
woo, but abstract.
yeah, very.
It's like
abstract.
this weird mismatch.
Oh, is that new one you like? The go around with the stories. Gallendale, Evandale, Rivendell, Rivenwell, Rivengale. I don't have it.
Those are all probably real
Galzier.
games. That's the thing.
Lansing Galzier.
No, that might have been more in like the do whatever you want category. I'm going with one of the pencil first games.
Ooh.
Those guys do, pretty,
Flow.
kind of, again, they're pretty, they're soothing.
Yeah.
I wanted one that had a little more gameplay, and that's a game Mike showed me, Floriferous.
Yeah.
I think Floriferous looks,
That would have been my guess too.
I think the usual suspect here might be Herbaceous.
Yes.
A lot of people go for
Oh,
Herbaceous.
never mind. That would have been my guess.
I think for me, Herbaceous doesn't have enough gameplay.
It's very light. It almost floats away.
It's not
yeah.
bad. I like Herbaceous, but not compared to Floriferous. Floriferous has more gameplay, and you're still going to be spending 40 minutes or so staring at this very gentle, soothing artwork, collecting flowers and bees, and drafting a few cards in front of you so that you can score. You're also going to be engaging in some pretty fun actions in the gameplay itself, like choosing your own scoring opportunities and making sets that are meaningless unless you're also choosing to take an action and pick the thing that scores that set. So I really like that. But the whole thing, this is an easy category to try and see if you like right now because it's a big push.
It is.
In board gaming right now. Nature, cozy, welcoming, all of that jazz, right?
Pencil First was there before everybody else.
Pencil First has been doing it for a while, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
And
they're good at it.
They are. And I think some people would say, well, what about Cascadia? But I think this is more cozy than Cascadia
I think
is.
Cascadia is not that relaxing.
Yeah,
and
right.
I don't even mean relaxing. It's pretty, and
Yeah.
But it is. It's got bite, like
It does,
not
yeah,
like
yeah.
like this doesn't have that much bite. You know,
Right, I agree.
Cascadia. I also saw Calico being a big recommend for cozy games.
Yeah.
I hard disagree.
I like Calco a lot.
I do too, but
it is not cozy.
It's not cozy.
It
No.
looks cozy.
It looks
It just
yeah.
looks that way, right?
Yeah, it can
so
make,
for
make
me,
you sweat.
yeah, for me, Floriferous is one that'll do the job and give you a neat game on top of it. Try it out, see if you like this kind of thing, and might not become your everyday type of gaming, but there might be a place in your collection or just in, I like playing this kind of game on Sunday afternoons or what have you. There might be a place for this kind of game in
boat.
your life.
On the
Teas
river.
On
and
a
crumpets.
boat. Yes. On a cat.
My number 6 is
In
a
a hat.
crossover with Z.
Oh.
Which of your games was on my list?
Dixit?
That is correct. Got it in one. Dixit. Yeah, there's a lot of party games out there, and there's a lot of modern party games, and nowadays listing is the new hotness. And there's a lot of games like Dixit, but I wonder that a lot of people haven't played Dixit, and I think you should try it at least once. That whole concept of just here's these funky cards as you sip whatever liquid Mike is telling you to sip when you play.
Kerosene.
Yeah, it could be anything.
I still couldn't turn the whole deck. This is really bothering me. This 15-year-old Tom.
You were 15 when you made this video? That's impressive, Tom.
That would be impressive.
Yes.
I would have done it had I had the cameras back then. Anyway, Dixit, a great
Or
game.
the game, to be fair.
Yeah.
Game was not out when
No.
you were 15.
No.
But if I had created it,
Oh, you'd be a rich man.
I would be. All right. Well, anywho. Yeah, everything Z said. Same reasoning, really. A great party game. Dixit, my number 6.
A lot of times you'll hear people say, I don't really like chaos in my games. And I tend to think that it's going to be people that don't like chaos in games where it feels out of place. You see what I'm getting at?
I think I know what this is.
Certain games will have some strategic elements, right? And then there's just some random bit of chaos.
I don't
Fight
know.
Duty likes to do that a lot.
I don't know, Mike. I think some people don't like chaos in general. Like, let's say you play Flux. Chaos is definitely supposed to be there, but I don't like it necessarily.
And that may be true, but this is a way to find out if you like chaos or not.
Thunder
Pure
Road?
chaos. No, but you're on the right track. This is Galaxy Trucker.
Oh,
This
interesting.
is
Interesting
chaos,
choice.
and that is the design. This is a design about chaos. You're going to build something, it's going to get wrecked. It is so chaotic, right? But it's not chaos wrapped around a system of more of other elements. Basically, this game is pure chaos, right? This is somebody, a designer who's done so many different types of games, so clearly knows how to make very strategic games, and comes with Galaxy Trucker, which is nothing but it's basically a celebration of chaos.
Here's what's funny about this. I hate this game with a passion. When I've suggested Galaxy Trucker is chaos and chaotic,
Yeah.
and I hate it because I don't know what's going to happen, I've been corrected ad nauseum about how it's actually not about chaos. It's about looking ahead at the cards that are coming up
Okay, well.
and knowing how to not be in the way of things coming at
You
you.
haven't got that from us.
I've gotten it like online, you know what I mean?
All those people are.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, I hate every single one of them. And if you're watching this, shut your mouth
Yeah. No, to me,
about Galaxy Trucker. Everything else you say is tremendously valuable, and you're important.
Except Galaxy Trucker.
yeah. No, to me, like, this is the purest form of chaos in a game by a very good designer who still makes it feel like, you know what I'm saying? This is like to me, this is a cultivated expression of chaos.
Okay.
And because the designer is so good, to me, you know whether you like chaos, pure chaos or not in gaming if you like Galaxy Trucker. Because
Okay.
a lot of times you'll have, again, games where there is some strategy involved and the people don't like the chaotic elements of that. It's
Sure.
like, it just feels random. It feels, well, this is that.
No,
right?
it's an interesting choice that you made here. This is one I don't know that I necessarily agree on with you on.
What other game feels anything like this?
Flux.
No.
No. Nova Era.
No. No.
I
This is the most unadulterated expression of chaos in a game I think that's ever existed.
That's interesting.
That-
I don't think
see,
I
that
agree
I
with
disagree
that,
with
but
that.
Well, give me a better example.
No. The reason I disagree with that is
throwing
not
rocks down an empty hallway.
That's not a game.
It is if you're trying to figure out who threw the farthest rock.
All right, that's fine.
No. I mean, I don't have to come up with a list of 30 random games.
No,
I'm
no,
saying,
no.
I think Galaxy Trucker has more strategy than you think. It's just that once it goes into that phase of see what happens to your city, sometimes it does randomly get your ship. Sometimes it does randomly get destroyed. Sometimes it doesn't, though.
Sure.
And
The
sometimes
fact that you don't know is what means chaos.
sure, but you want to know at least a little. Look, I like the game a lot.
I actually am not a huge fan of Galaxy Trucker.
Well, that's why your views are tainted.
No,
I'm
it's
saying that
not. I'm
sometimes
saying
you
this
fight
is-
off the stuff because you did place well, because you did do well, and
Maybe
you
you
can
did.
fight off the asteroids.
Maybe you did.
It's not pure chaos. That's a misnomer.
Okay, I disagree. I think
Here's
this
a different.
Well, now
here's
I
a
agree with you
different
putting this on
question.
the list.
I'm saying as far as a board game with rules, right? A structured game with rules, right? That you have to follow to play the game. To me, my opinion, my list, this is the most pure form of chaos that's been captured in a board game.
Wow, like more than a game where you're just randomly grabbing cards and building piles. There's like 50 of those out there. Then slapping games. Then Candyland.
Maybe I'm being a snob then, because to me those barely classify as games. This classifies as a game.
But why is it on your list?
Because I think that this is the way to know if you like chaos in games or not. You should, if you say I don't like chaos in games, and the only things you've played are Euro games, strategy games that have some element of chaos inserted.
Do you think Cosmic is chaos?
Oh, you'd be better answer that than me, because I've only played it the one time. I don't know.
Here's a question I have for you, slightly tangential to this.
Yeah.
And tell me what you think.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think chaos and not liking chaos in a game is something you have to actually experience to know if you don't like, or is it one of those things that you know without having to experience?
All I have to do is look at your kitchen counter to tell
it's an interesting philosophical question. I don't know that we have time to really delve into it. I'm being serious. Like, I do think it's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if you have to experience it to know whether you'd like it or not.
It's interesting. Chaos is not one of my things. You want to, like, feel chaos. It's not one of, like, my emotions.
Yeah.
Because I thought it didn't need the testing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think I know if I want a chaotic game. Now, there's obviously degrees.
Sure.
But it's like, do you love pure chaos? Yes? Then you don't need to test for that. You know what I mean? Or do you hate chaos? I don't need you to play a game that's chaotic if you know that. You can imagine what chaos is, you know?
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
Deep thoughts.
My number 5 is another example that was tricky for me to pick a game for. The trickiest. My number 5 was the trickiest to pick a game for. And I wanted a game that helped you feel like you accomplished a thing, like you built something. There's a lot of games where you don't get that forward momentum of being able to look at the table and go, I made this, I built this thing. Look at where we came from, look at where we are. It's so hard to pick a game that does that because there's 12,000 games that do that. I don't know why I'm picking this one. I think it's because I was talking to Mike at the time when I decided to do it like this, and he said something about dexterity and doing something cool together, and I was like, Minara might be an interesting game to do this with.
Okay.
Minara is a dexterity game. You are going to be cooperating on building a structure, a thing in front of you. You're all adding pillars and then putting floors down and adding more pillars and putting more floors down. And about halfway through the game, everybody sort of instinctually reaches for their phone and starts to take weird pictures of this bizarre thing you're all building together. If you knock it down, you lose. It's kind of Jenga or Villa Paletti, if you know that game. But it's cooperative. So you're working together, and you get to share that feeling of, look what I built, with everybody around the table. Normally, when you're building a thing, and in most games you're not cooperatively building a thing, you're enjoying your part of creation, but you might look over there and be like, oof, that's a better city, or that's a better whatever, and so I'm not getting that feeling myself, maybe, if I'm not rocking it. In this one, I don't care who's doing it. I'm helping.
Yeah.
And so these structures and these things you're putting together really feel like you're achieving something, whether you win or not. The game's pretty easy, so you're probably going to win. It's very, very easy. But it does give me that feeling of achieving a thing. And I think it's a good jumping off point for trying other games where the starting state and the end state of the game is going to be wildly different. You'll have built a lot. You'll have accomplished a lot. So for me, number 5 is if you want to play something that helps you feel like you accomplished a thing, Minara should be something you try at least once and see if you like that feeling.
It's interesting that you picked a dexterity game for this as opposed to like
Cooperative.
a tableau building game.
Yeah. Again, like I said, This is by far was my hardest one to narrow down to one game to achieve that feeling, because that feeling is in a lot of games. To be fair, a lot of games do try to have the players feel accomplished.
I do love the juxtaposition of your particular dice character with that cover too. That's a great combo, right?
He's exploring.
Mm-hmm.
All right, my number 5 is at odds with both of you. You picked a different game in the same category.
Oh, okay.
Mine is The Resistance.
For social deduction, okay.
Yeah, I thought about social deduction. So the king of social deduction in 2025, or where we are right now, we all know is Blood on the Clock Tower. Mm-hmm. I can currently not in good conscience recommend that, because I think the fan base, if I said, hey, you should go try a Blood on the Clock Tower, I'd be worried you run into a bad group of Blood on the Clock Tower. Mm-hmm. And you might say, Tom, how do you know there are bad groups of Blood on the Clock Tower? Because I run into them at every con. Like consistently.
It's a thing. Yeah.
So there's a lot of different games out there, Werewolf, The Resistance, and Deception, Murder, Hong Kong. But I think The Resistance has narrowed down the simplicity of it. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I probably should have put Avalon. Because I think Avalon also adds that one twist of one person knows who it is, with the same twist, actually, that's in Deception, Murder, and Hong Kong.
Sure.
And I just think that this game takes Werewolf, which I love Werewolf, but adds a smart set of rules to it. There's no eliminations, no one out to the end of the game. You win or lose, and there's rules.
There's structure.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think you should try it. I think it stands amongst the best of this genre, because most games copy The Resistance, frankly, or copy Werewolf, or copy one of the other archetypes. But it's definitely one of the archetypes of the social deduction.
Mm-hmm.
Good call.
So that's my number 5, The Resistance.
It's a good one.
All right. So my number 4 is
better. For you, or just go down the alphabet.
This is just alphabetical. My number 4 is, and this is a tricky one because this is such a broad category and it can encompass so many different types of experiences. But for someone that might not like party games, okay, and the reason I chose this one, again, I kind of went off the deep end with this list a little bit. The reason I chose this one is that you can play this game without actually playing the game. You can look over someone's shoulder.
Set, bet. Tom.
No one has to teach you the rules, right? It's like one of those games where you don't have to get taught the rules. You can watch someone playing it.
You're watching people play it.
And you could play along.
Is it dexterity?
No.
Just one.
100%, yeah. Number 4 is just one.
Whoa, did you watch? I need one question.
Yeah,
did it in
so
2.
I have found people that don't...
Oh, no, it's a clarification. Yeah, you did it in 1. Okay,
yeah,
just 1.
People that don't tend to like party games, I have found some of them do like just one. And most of the time it's been because they stood and watched someone playing it at a table, figured it out within a round, and started playing along with them.
Sure.
And so that's why this made the list, because I was like, party games are such a wide... because just one is a party game, and what's another game that doesn't feel anything like it that's a party game? There's a bunch of them.
Apples.
Sure, that's the same game. But no, but you know what I mean. So I do think that this is one that could, you maybe don't like party games, but you don't even have to sit down at a table to try this one. Just watch someone playing it for a round or two.
You kind of feel like you're playing.
You kind of feel like you're playing because you could play along, right?
You could.
Yeah.
So you picked us over So Clover?
Yeah, although So Clover is a great pick, too. So Clover, those would be the two I would be choosing between.
So not Code Names?
No, not Code Names, because I think Code Names
is a game everybody should try. I'm playing fully devil's advocate here, by the way.
Code Names was on my short list.
Code Names would also be a good choice. Yeah, for me, I think this is the one that came to my mind right away, so I went with it, but I don't think that's a bad choice. I don't think... So Clover is a bad choice. I think there are some party games that have come out in the last few years that are these types of games where you can kind of look and see people playing it and figure it out. You don't have to be taught the game necessarily. You learn by watching it. And if you stick around long enough to start playing it by yourself, you're like, hey, maybe there's some party games out here I might like. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
yeah.
That's my number 4.
All right, my number 4. I wanted to put on the list a game that you could enjoy if you wanted to see if you would like feeling like you're calculating. And I don't mean that as in like doing math. I mean you are like tactically, being calculative. And I could pick any number of abstract games, any number of sort of head-to-head thinky games. Go would be a good one if you want to discover if you like that feeling. I picked one I like that I think is a great two-player abstract. I picked Yinch. I think Yinch straddles the line nicely between not making you feel like an utter idiot and still allowing you to make good tactical choices. Learning on the fly, if you would. I think a lot of abstract games, after one play, you will either have no idea how to play well or you'll feel terrible because you got utterly crushed.
Yeah.
You just won't. It'll feel not right after one play. I mean, abstracts are kind of known for that, right? You have to play the same abstract game a bunch of times to sort of really begin to understand how to do well if it's a decent enough abstract, and then figure out if you kind of like the game or not. I think Yinch is straightforward enough, simple enough, but thinky enough to shorten that time frame, in my opinion, to a game or two, and you'll know. You can certainly get better at the game, but you'll know if you like this kind of game or not faster, and that's kind of why I'm picking this one. It's a 5 in a row kind of game where you're going to be moving one of your discs, trying to get, or one of your rings, I should say, trying to get 5 of your color, black or white, those pieces are reversible, in a row. You do that, you're 1/3 of the way to winning. Do it 2 more times, you win the whole thing. That's it.
Technically, you're 1/4, I think. I mean, technically you're 1/3, but that first one's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
And they get harder.
Yes. Because you lose power on the board as well, which I also like, actually. It's also something that keeps the game from having that feeling of, I ate one of your pawns and you took on my king. I'm an idiot. You know what I mean?
Right.
That feeling sucks. Mm-hmm. In this one, when you make a move forward, the game pulls that player back a little bit, and so it's unlikely to be a blowout is my point, and that feels good. Anyway, my number 4, Yinch.
All right, on Tuesday night, we play games at our local store at Cool Stuff here in Kendall, and I went to the heavy board games table. They were in the middle of playing Indonesia.
Ooh, splatter.
So I told them we were doing this list, and I said, what would you put on the list? And they crossed over with me after I knocked off their first 4 choices.
Of course, yes.
They're like, brass. I was like, no. Brass is not for everyone to play once. But I do think everyone should try a heavy Euro game out.
Okay,
once.
Hold on. Let me think.
Heavy Euro game that everyone should try.
Agricola?
That was my first thought.
That is it.
Yeah.
Agricola. Good call. I really do like. So Agricola, funnily enough, of the Rosenberg big games is my number 4.
Yeah.
I put Caverna La Havre and Feast Froden
It's
over
a
it.
historical thing, too.
It's
right?
not, but it's a game that just shows you all this stuff. You have this hand of cards. You need to make them work. You're building a farm. Your worker placement. There's a lot going on, and it has a pretty strong theme comparative to most of these heavy Euro games. It doesn't put you in too bad of a rut. Yes, feeding your people can be a pain in the neck, but
Misery Farm.
But I think for most people, you can get past that point, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a good one to jump in. Caverna would also fit here, but Agricola is the one that's kind of the
for the purposes
I mean,
of
they're
this
the same.
list,
They're the
that kinda
same
makes
game
more
in many
sense,
ways.
yeah.
But yeah, I like Agricola. Still, I mean, I would talk about Agricola all the time if it wasn't for the fact that Caverna for me supplanted it. But
Sure.
I think it's a game everybody should try once.
All right, so number 3 is for the many people, at least online, who state loudly that apps should not be a part of board games. That the
same argument I had about Legacy.
The
applies
twain
here.
they should never meet. And so my answer for this would be, okay, I get that. But you know what? If you are going to play a game with an app, then you should probably play one that is maybe the most impressive example of that you can find. And so I know it's a bold statement, but I don't know that you're going to get more impressive for people. If you want to try something electronic with your board game, bring out Return to Dark Tower.
Well, that was not where I thought you were going with this.
Yeah. Because this is like, look, if you're going to play with electronics, here's this big toy in the middle of your game, right? Go all out. If you're going to try
Chronicles of Crime.
No, if you're gonna try something, okay, I don't like electronics with my board game. All right, I get that, but if you're gonna do something like this. This is like, to me, like the pinnacle. You've got this incredibly app integrated electronic piece in the game, and the app will read these things for you, and it's got sound effects and all. You know what I mean? If you're gonna do it, go all out. And maybe you'll never want to play one again, but if you're gonna try one, do this. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because this is just such an expression of what electronics and board gaming integration could be. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
It's actually a three-way thing, though. You're saying app and board game. This is app and toy and board game.
100%. But yeah, but it's like, it's this whole idea of electronics and cardboard can't coexist. You know what I mean? Or they shouldn't coexist. If I want to play with electronics, I'll just play a video game. Well, yeah, I get it. Sure, maybe that's your opinion and it's valid. But here's kind of a crazy example of what it could be, right?
Yeah, you know what? I think this is one everyone should play for the purpose of, like, the experience.
Yeah.
This isn't something like none other.
Right. And
Really.
people are saying, well, you picked the most expensive one. Well, yeah, I get it. I'm not saying buy it.
Yeah, we
I'm
didn't say
saying
buy
play
it once.
it.
We said play it once.
Play someone
That's
else's
fair.
copy.
Yeah,
Dice
yeah,
Tower
yeah.
Cons. Come on
right.
out.
Play it with someone else's copy. We've got it in the library. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just like, my thought was, I get the whole idea, but all right, if you're going to do one, though, do this. Do this one. And you can kind of see the biggest example of it.
I
right?
agree. It's a big swing. That's a good call. Absolutely. All right, my number 3 is from a very expensive game to a pretty cheap game that's been made a lot over and over. And this is the one that I was saying you should try if you want to play something boisterous. Something kind of big and loud and
Boisterous.
I think boisterous is a fantastic word.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just think
made
no
it
one
up
ever says I
myself.
want to
So
play
you're saying a
boisterous game.
boisterous game. And it's not a party game, or it is a party game?
Depends who you ask, probably.
Okay.
Something.
Happy Salmon.
No, gosh.
That's
no.
a boisterous game.
It is. No, and this doesn't have to be boisterous. I
Pit.
think it makes me feel that way playing this game.
Okay.
It's Liar's Dice.
Oh, yeah.
I think everybody should try Liar's
I
Dice.
believe I have a new version of this. What's it called?
Oh, gosh.
Mentirosa. This is a good call, Z.
Yeah, Liar's Dice is...
It will help you understand the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie a lot more.
That
They don't explain the game very well in
scene.
that one scene.
It'll
They
help
do
you with
not.
that one scene. This is a very light game. It's a very simple, straightforward game. It's a game in which you're going to be rolling a bunch of dice, slapping them down on the table, and then going around the table pushing your luck. That's really what it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bluffing. If you want there to be, you can lie a little bit if you want to. Or not even lie, because you're not lying. You're kind of, pushing people maybe towards something that is helping them assume you have something you don't have. That's it.
Yeah.
You're not out and out lying.
No, you could. Yeah.
You're not
right.
saying, I have 3 6s.
No, yeah.
You're not saying that. You're not, at no point do you do that. But it's a game that can be it can adapt to a lot of situations, but it can give that sort of feeling of, whoo, that feeling of being boisterous, being loud, being maybe chaotic is not the right word,
Right,
but it dips a toe in that pool a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that might help you also discover if you like this kind of parlor game, this kind of, I like games as a side activity to hanging out. Mm-hmm. The game's not the star. The hanging out is the star. But we like to do something while we're hanging out. Liar's Dice falls into that category strongly for me.
Like another game I think would be Skull give you a very similar type of a feel.
Skull.
Yeah, Skull would be good.
Yeah.
I mean, even like Crocono, which you mentioned, kind of falls into that let's hang out
let's just
category.
hang out and-
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, Liar's Dice is one you should try and see if you like the emotions that it gives you.
My number 3 is the second and last of my category picks. But I think everybody should at least once try an escape room game.
Oh.
All right. And so for this one, I
That's a
picked
good one.
Unlock.
Okay.
Because Unlock is the so if you're like, I don't like disposable games. Good, I got one for you.
Yeah.
But it uses an app. I can't help you.
That's it. You
Go
got to
away
have one
from
or
me.
the other.
You
Yep.
got to pick one. Well, no, you don't. I guess Deckscape has neither.
Or Exit.
Right? No, Exit, you destroy it.
Oh, you do destroy. That's right.
But I really love the concept of these games. This very simple idea of an escape room. Escape rooms came into vogue, I don't know, 20 years ago, and have just been growing in popularity.
they are
everywhere.
big.
They're
Yeah.
mainstream now.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are definitely mainstream. Everyone, I mean, there's been movies made about them, TV shows talk about them, and the idea that there are board games about them is also mainstream. You can go to Target and find some sort of escape room style game.
Sure.
And I think you should try one. They're very fun. They're very cooperative. Some are better than others. In fact,
Sure.
one of my future top 10s is going to be top 10 escape room games. We're going to go through them and say which ones are our favorites. But I just think it's a fun experience, whether you're using the app and Unlock, which is my personal choice. I think that they've gotten to use it in very clever ways. Or if you just want to draw, my kids like the Exit ones better.
Yeah.
They like the folding and cutting. And then there's ones that are just a bunch of physical traps in a box. Many of them can be reset. Yeah, there's the very popular Box 1 and now
Box 2
Box
now.
2, which are not quite escape room games, but pretty close.
Yeah.
Puzzle boxes almost.
Puzzle boxes, yeah.
And they're for one player, whereas these don't have to be.
Yeah, and I found that people like, well, Box 1 could have been multiple players.
I suppose.
You really could do that.
Yeah.
I found that these, you might go, I don't want to play one of these. I don't want to sit and think, but they draw a lot of people in.
Yeah.
I've met very few people who dislike them who have
Right.
played them.
Yeah.
Most people aren't playing them all the time.
Sure.
But I think it's one that you should try at least once. So that
good.
is my number 3 escape room games in general. I pick Unlock.
All right. Continuing in my alphabetical list here.
What was your last game?
Huh?
What was the last one you picked?
The last one was, they're going to make me flip my list over. Return to Dark Tower, so R. This is after R in the alphabet. Well, after Return. Making me give away my stuff.
Yeah!
This is for the. This is,
I think you're giving us way more credit when you
this
say
is,
that. We're like, well,
this
now
is
we know
for,
it.
This is for
I'm
the,
over here,
This
investigating.
is for the gamer that's like, you know what? I really have no interest in ever playing a war game. All those chits,
Revenge of the Sith.
the little
Rewind
blocks
the
and the
tape.
chits and the big hex boards are so ugly.
Root.
Root is my number 2. So because this is probably one of the most played war games of a recent war games because people don't tend to always think of it as a war game. It's 100% a war game. It's an iteration on the coin system, which is very much a war game system, but it's wrapped in this incredible Kyle Farron art, and it has been brought down to
Baby level.
no, it's definitely not baby level because of the asymmetry, but it's a war game that most, like, I put myself in this category. I had no
So you're
interest
saying this is
in
you recommend this to people that would avoid a war game?
because of the way they look specifically.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. And they wouldn't even know, because they don't like the way war games look, they may never have any idea if they like war games, right? Because they've never played with those types of mechanics.
Well, they won't like the way it looks. I would venture to say they don't like that game.
They very well may not, but this might at least open their eyes to what wargaming does. You know
Sure,
what I
I'll
mean?
give you that, yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking on that. So because there were certain elements in Root that I had never experienced before because I'd never played a war game. You know what I mean? And so it never really got me to go too far beyond this. You know what I mean? But it might for some people, and maybe it has already. I don't know. But it has some of those war game trappings, but it's presented in a package that is so much more palatable to a lot of people that they get to experience kind of what the idea of some of these asymmetric coin light type games are. And I do know, I've heard people say, well, this at least got me to try Cuba Libre, the coin, the full out coin game.
But that may not happen, too.
No, of course it may not. It
So
didn't with me.
coin, that's an abbreviation.
Counterinsurgency
Counterinsurgency or
games.
something
Yeah,
like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just a mechanism category.
It's a type
It's a type of game
with asymmetric where you've got like different factions that are all kind of interwoven together, and sometimes you'll have temporary alliances and that kind of a thing. And so Root is not a strict coin game, but it's definitely derived from that system.
Okay.
Now, I agree with Mike here. I will say this is one of those games you try once, and then if you don't like it, move on.
Yeah.
If you can get maybe for real cheap the app,
Yes.
that's a good way of trying it once.
That's very true.
because it
Very
does a
true.
really good job teaching you the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alrighty, my number 2 is one I thought might be a crossover with Mike earlier, but it was not. This is a game that I think feels exhilarating, helps you feel giddy while you are playing.
Okay, then I do know what this is.
This is Thunder Road Vendetta.
Yeah.
I think you should try Thunder Road Vendetta.
Yeah.
If you want something that is cinematic, that is bombastic,
Witness me.
that is,
It's
Mad
boisterous too,
Maxian.
Zee. Make no mistake, it is
It
boisterous.
can be, certainly, and there's a lot of sort of stand-up moments and oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened moments. You know, think back of the box 1980s style. You know, the kid holding his head with a big open mouth.
True.
You know,
And the other kid's going,
yeah,
Right,
right, like
yeah,
real over the top stuff. This game will give you that. To a certain degree, and to a good degree, I should say. You know, not to a 1980s degree, because
Right.
those games were just that, and there wasn't any like meat there.
Yep.
This is a good balance of that. But if you want something, if you want to discover, do I like cinematic board games? Board games look dry, they look boring. I'm not sure if I like the idea. Oh, about racing cars, Mad Max style, and we might explode, or I might bump you into a wall and destroy you. All right, maybe I like board games.
Yeah.
You know,
right. Yep.
you should try this and see if this is a vibe, a style that you jive with. So for me, a game that's a good representative for that category, Thunder Road Vendetta.
Yeah, and I think this is especially good because when you say cinematic, the other game that pops right to my mind is Nemesis. But that's a much more involved. Like this is much more approachable. You know what
Yes,
I mean? And
by
you can
far,
feel
sure.
that cinematic feeling that you can teach to most people.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good call.
Though Nemesis is a good one for your chaos category
yeah, that's
as
true
well.
too. That is true too.
What do you mean, 3 chest bursters?
all right. My number 2 is my choice for a midweight size game. And this one comes precariously close to at the beginning. I said you probably haven't played or I tried to pick games that people haven't probably played. A lot of people have played this game.
Yeah.
To the point where the publisher gets grief anytime they make another game in the series.
Oh, interesting.
But I think everyone should try at least once Wingspan. I think Wingspan does a lot of really good things. Like right now, if you say Wingspan or Finspan to me, I'm going to say Finspan.
Yes.
But I like Fish better. So that's part of it. But Wingspan really did a lot of bringing games to the masses, for one.
Yeah.
But it has a lot of cool mechanisms. Yes, you can go and watch Mandy Patinkin's video of him not understanding Wingspan. Have you seen that?
Yes.
He's like, who wrote these rules?
Yeah, for sure.
And I get it.
We take a lot of things for granted.
We really
as
do,
gamers,
right?
Yeah.
But the idea of running down rows and getting these resources, if you've never tried it, it's a really fun experience. And we know it's successful because so many people are copying it.
Yes.
Whether they're copying the theme or they're copying the mechanisms. Sometimes both.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's also just sold so many copies.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
I'm not just picking it because it sold so many
No, I
copies.
know.
Because I didn't put Catan on my list
Right.
or Ticket to Ride. Because I think those are great, but I figure most people have played them. But I think there's a chance a lot of people haven't tried Wingspan.
Yeah.
And there is a somewhat irrational hatred against it.
Yeah.
Which is just nonsensical.
It really
If you hate birds, that's fine. I mean, if you like bugs, I don't get it. Birds eat bugs. Birds are good. But if you think birds are boring, that's fine. But the game itself is still very fun.
Yeah.
So that's my number 2. And finally, number 1.
You didn't join in.
I'm good.
Okay. My number one.
Number 1.
My number one, my choice here is
ZZ.
is speaking to myself because I don't particularly like long games, and
Okay.
there's a very specific reason
I've
why.
seen you play some fairly long games,
right,
but
there's a very specific reason why.
You're-
It's because
you don't have much time left.
I feel like
I guess what's wrong with you?
It's because I feel like
Ignore
that was
him.
an old people joke, right?
Ignore
Put
him.
it in there. Put it on your
Jeez.
list at home.
Ugh.
It's because I don't want to spend 3.5 hours playing a Euro game that gives me about the same experience as a better Euro in 90 minutes. So to me, the long games I usually have an issue with because they're not worth it. Because it's bloated, right? It's a game that could have been done better in 90 minutes. That's usually when I'm complaining about long games.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's a game that could have been done better in a shorter period of time. If you're going to play a long, epic game, it should be a game that is designed and it really works because it's long and epic. And I've only played it once, and I'm glad I did. I probably will never play it again. Twilight
Here we
Imperium
go.
4.
You think I should play?
I think you should play this once.
No,
Tom?
I don't think so.
Tom,
I think you know what you
put it
want.
on the list.
No, I think,
Oh, done.
honestly.
Wait, does that mean I got to play it too?
Yes, you have to teach.
But here's the thing. I'm glad I played it once. Do I want to play it again? Not particularly.
Too bad, because if Z plays, you play.
Well, I guess.
Put it on the list.
I guess I would. but look, this is the thing. This game, the length makes sense because it feels like a game that is built and designed to be this long. I don't like playing 4-hour Euros, right? Because it's not worth it. You're getting this. You're getting a 90-minute Euro experience in 4 hours. Here, this is a game that its length justifies it because you feel like you have gone through this whole journey at the end of that, right? And the round structures and all of these things make sense for this type of game. It doesn't mean that I now want to play 4.5, 5-hour games as a matter of course. But I wanted to play one, and I wanted to play what was told to me was the best example of a big kind of operatic long game, and it was this game. Maybe there's a better one, but this is the only one I've played, and I'm glad I played it once because I have that experience now. So there you go.
My number one.
I don't know what just happened.
I don't either. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just listening to Mike describe why I should play that game once. He's very persuasive, Mike DiLisio.
Well, I do.
All right, my number one is a classic. It's a game you've probably played, honestly, because it's sold a lot. My number one's Pandemic, and I think it's a game.
Legacy.
No, just regular Pandemic. Legacy is a good choice because I think it's a unique thing you should experience. But I'm going with regular Pandemic because it's going to give you, again, a glimpse into that region of possible emotions that other games, certainly before this game, didn't really give you. That sort of anxiety, that tension, that sort of, ooh, this game's about to smack me down. I mean, most games did not give you that feeling, certainly not in a cooperative setting. And I think you should try and see if you like games that do that. When I was shaping the list, I almost put like a scary game on the list. But that's not a thing.
Yeah.
I've yet to play a game and feel scared.
Right.
For me, maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe I'm wrong.
2.
You
Was it an
played
escape
some,
room
they
type
scared
game?
you.
Well,
Or-
one was Escape from the Aliens in Outer Space.
Okay.
And the other would probably be Mansion of Madness. It's very spooky with the music. Both of those have other external reasons.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I backed off of the out-and-out terror, and instead I went with suspense, anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think this is a game that manages to do that. There's a pressure there that builds. There's an anxiety there. There's a scope. And hey, you know what? Maybe at the end of the day, the scope robs it of a little bit of that tension. It doesn't for me, but I could see that somebody making the argument that it's so large scale that they can't really visualize something taking out, the whole world. But I think it's very well put together. Obviously, a lot of people think that too. And it's a really fun, nail-biting kind of experience that I think will show you if you enjoy that in games, for one thing, but certainly in cooperative games, too. So for me, my number one, Pandemic, you should try it at least once. Even though it might be passé by now because every other game is cooperative,
Sure.
you should try this one.
I just have an idea for another top 10.
Whoa.
All right, my number one.
Write it down.
All right,
Don't
close
forget
us
it.
out. Finish us up strong.
All right, that's a
Tom.
good
Finish
point.
us
Let
up
me-
strong.
Let me write it here.
Write it down right here
You said
on my
another,
list.
so I mean you have 2 now? Oh, you already said one earlier, yeah. I don't think
I know what it's not. I know it's not Catan or Ticket to Ride.
Because he said he
But
didn't.
it's close to those in popularity. It's
Ticket
not,
to Catan.
No, this is a game that is not as popular, again, because it has a younger sibling, which is way more popular than it. But I still think this is a classic game. If you have not played it, it's good to see what drafting does. And a lot of
Seven
things.
Wonders.
I think Seven Wonders is a game everyone should try once.
All right.
That's a good
Seven
call.
Wonders is a solid game that introduces a lot of mechanisms, multiple ways to win the game. The different styles of strategy, drafting itself. It's just a very simple, easy game to play, and yet I think there's a lot of stuff in there. If you've not played it, it will expand your category. I mean, I said that these are for you watching, but some of you watching haven't played a ton of games.
Right.
This is, I think, a great, I call this next step game. After you play Ticket to Ride or Catan, you're like, I want something that does a little bit more. Well, Wingspan is one of those games. The other is Seven Wonders, which is why they're my top two.
Yeah. No, this is a good call.
Because I really do think everyone should play Seven Wonders once.
Yeah.
It also handles a large amount of people. Although you're mostly concerned with the two sitting next to you,
Which
but
I think
that's
is great,
fine.
actually.
Yeah, you don't have to put out that effort into watching the whole table.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my number one.
That's a good one to end on.
That's good. That is good.
So there you have it, folks. That is top 10 games we think everyone should play once. And that's it for us live this week. We have more videos going up tomorrow and Saturday and
we
Sunday.
got lots of videos on.
And we got more stuff coming next week. Like I said, next week I'll be at the Gamma Trade Show, and we'll be sending videos back from there, and you can see. I'll be talking to lots of publishers about what's coming out in the future.
Yes.
Cult of the future.
I demand
Yes.
scoops, Tom. You better come back. I want to call you Baskin Robbins when you come back. You have so
I'll
many
give
scoops.
you 31 scoops. And no
I'll take
more.
it. Okay, well, 31's good. I'll take that.
And then the following week, we won't be live at all. I mean, there'll be live stuff next week, but the following week, no live stuff because we'll be at Dice Tower West. I guess I should rephrase that. We'll do live stuff.
Yes.
You just got to be there to see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and there, I'll just tell you now, we're going to be doing our top 10 board game wishes. So open-ended.
Yeah, it's very open-ended. I'm a little terrified about that list, actually.
You know, this board game logo was different, or I wish that I had more people to game with, or
you just
it
give
could
me
be
an
anything.
idea. Okay.
I don't know what's going to happen.
Can I wish
I've
for a
given these
publisher to
guys-
change their logo?
Yes, I've given them no guidance.
My gosh, it's
No
so
guidance.
open-ended.
I will not do
It's
that.
going to be fire, folks.
Yeah,
you want to
that'll be
see
good.
it. I want to see it.
So we'll see you then. Anyway, thanks for watching, as always. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
I'm Mike DiLisio.
Ooh, cake vending machines.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video on the Dice Tower. Hey, do you want to know what's going on at Dice Tower? Do you want to know about our events, our cruises, special things that we're going to do live in the Dice Tower? Subscribe to Dice Tower Digest. Go to DicetowerDigest.com. It's a newsletter that we send out bi-weekly. We won't use your email for anything else. It's just to get you some information about the Dice Tower so you'll be up to date. Thanks for watching.